Oh, hello, Internet. Hello, everybody. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Good, Bill. I'm really good, really good. Getting everything ready for the show. How are
So,
you?
for people that don't know, Jeff, he is the showrunner of VCF East. What's that mean, Jeff?
Vintage Computer Festival East. So it's the East Coast of the United States
Right.
in Wall Township, New Jersey.
So, I get confused. I call it festival, but you're really the VCF, the Federation.
So yeah, that was I think, but by design, we originally there was a group called March, Mid Atlantic Retro Computing Hub.
Right. Right.
We that folded up and we reorganized and we were Vintage Computer Federation. All right, and so then that was the same initials, Vintage Computer Festival. The Vintage Computer Festival has been around for going on 26 years now, starting
Right.
in 1997 on the West Coast in California.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I always thought of it as the festival, and I first saw one on the internet, and I thought, well, that's cool. I want to go to one of those, and that's ultimately how we met. I ended up going to one, and oh, I forget what it was about. It was at IBM or something. But each show, if I remember, has more or less a theme to it. Is that a fair characterization?
So I started it when I became showrunner. Then I started to have a theme for each of the shows. Before that, I don't believe any of the different shows had a theme, but I've started it as of 2020. And the theme was the 6502 because that was the anniversary of the microprocessor.
Yeah. And Bill Mensch was out there. So that was great VCF. Having the mother of the 6502 amongst us. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was nice to have him come and give a talk. And we had another one of the engineers, original eights, come and well, he didn't come in person, but he did virtually. So that was nice to at least get two out of the current at that time currently living ones.
Right. Now I didn't realize March was gone. I thought they were still around.
No, so March was it was actually a for-profit, and then we dissolved it, and it was gone, and they transfer assets to VCF, and VCF is a legitimate nonprofit 501c3. So you can get tax donation letters if you donate something to us, and we get nonprofit status when not paying sales tax in New Jersey too.
Right. So what you're saying is I should bring by some of my old stuff that doesn't have a home, and maybe you guys will give it a home.
Yes, you can contact us. I believe the address is donations@vcfed.org. You can say, well, I'm looking to donate this thing or that thing, and we can say, well, something we can use or not use. Sometimes if it's like newer items or surplus, we have if we have 100 Commodore 64s, then we can sell some of them as surplus. We keep maybe 20 or 30 for eventually we're working on a classroom so that we can set up a classroom to teach people basic programming or something like that, because it's a very easy screen editor to use. So we can sometimes sell some things as surplus, and other things that are rare we would keep for our museum. We have right now it's a 900 square foot museum right now. We're hoping to raise enough money to renovate a 6,000 square foot space, and that could store a lot more of our stuff that's in our warehouse.
So yeah, if you do go to make a classroom of C64s, let's talk, because I'm envisioning, what are you going to do for 30 C64 power supplies? And there's got to be a scalable way to replace all those power, because you don't want to use the original C64 power supply these days.
Yes, we are looking into alternatives. There was I forget, there was one guy who had made them New Brick. I think it was called New Brick. He made a really good one. And then there was Ray Carlson also.
Carlson, yeah.
He has some. So we are actually looking into that, because we just had a New Jersey Makers Day, which is all the museums in New Jersey open up, and it's a free event. So we participated in that. InfoAge had other museums in the same room, but we had 6 Commodore 64s, and we had, to make it to appealing to the general public, we had a paint program. We had Koala Pad,
Yes,
Koala Painter. We had logo. We had general basic Commodore 64 basic. I had the SID enhanced SID player editor where you can edit on the screen,
right,
and a cartridge called Music Machine where you can just simulates a piano.
right.
So through that process, we had tested out, luckily at a repair workshop, enough Commodores, 6 of them, that are working, and the monitors. Generally, they don't go bad, but we have an expert in our group that can fix those. We use 1571 drives because they tend to be more reliable than the 41s.
Yeah.
And 4 out of 5 of the power supplies were borrowed from me and another member who had the aftermarket power supplies, which are a lot safer to use.
Right. I just got a dongle, for lack of a better thing. It's a DIN connector with just 2 barrel connectors, and so you plug 2 wall warts into it, and then it plugs into your 64. So the connector itself is only like $10, but it's got the DIN connector part that you need to supply your own power supply with. Then, so then you just add a 5-volt supply and a 9-volt supply to it.
Oh,
so
that makes it a little handy.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So it might be scalable. We'll have to see.
But that's definitely because after we had done that, the point was we had done that. We said, all right, let's prepare 12 Commodore 64s, a complete setup, buy power supplies, the good ones. So then we could have like a setup for, like, if we go to another show in Pennsylvania,
Right.
we can just pack it up, go demonstrate it. And then for a future classroom, because we do want to have a space in our museum space where we have a permanently set up classroom where we can teach people things.
Right. So I knew this would come up, which was, is there a way to not need a whole bunch of 1541s?
Yes. So that was actually one of the things. So I do have enough SD card readers. I had bought them from Jim Brain a while ago. So the problem was that if we wanted to go to subdirectories, you would need Jiffy DOS installed, and not all of them had Jiffy DOS installed. But there are alternatives. Like I had a Super Snapshot cartridge, which also has the DOS wedge. And yes, there is a software version of the Commodore DOS wedge, but unfortunately, it didn't work for the SID editor. It clobbered some memory location, didn't work. So yes, the answer is yes, but we need to either install Jiffy DOS on the machines or have a cartridge in there that will allow you to move around directories.
Interesting. Yeah, that's the world I was, all that came after my time, but while working on the 128, I couldn't touch a thing. I couldn't tighten a nut. I couldn't move a bolt, because there'd be some piece of software that relied on that. And, one of my favorite stories is about Koala Paint, where we moved the dot on the eye and it went to paint the dot on the eye and missed and painted the whole screen, which took a minute, right?
Yes.
And everybody's thinking it's broken, and I'm laughing because all we did was move the dot in the eye in the font ROM. It wasn't even in the regular code, and we broke it. So somebody's asking what's wrong with the old supplies. The old supplies, if I remember right, use an emitter, a common emitter. I'm sorry, a common base transistor as a pass device, and when it fails the wrong way. It dumps the high voltage into your C64. So I wish it was Ripple. In a lot of other power supplies, it's Ripple, but in the C64, it'll eat your 64. In a 128, it just breaks, from what I've heard. So that's Kevin. That's why I'm to the point where I tell people, don't plug in your C64 power supply. I didn't say that 5 years ago. I'm saying it now. So
yeah, I've heard also that it's a gradual worsening. I don't know if that's a proper technical term of the power supply.
Right.
So it gets a gradual. So you don't know there's a problem until it's too late. It does. That's what someone has told me, that where it's not a quick one, it's more like a gradual thing where then it'll damage your PLA or other chips that are
all of your chips if it really has a mind to. Yeah. All your 5 volts or all the sketchy ones. So yeah, what's this? When they allow 9 volt to hit the 5. Right. Somebody said when they fail, they allow 9 volts to hit the 5 volt chips, and they do hate that. I can attest.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds good.
Right. So VCF is next week. It's here, huh?
Yes, VCF East 2023 is here. 1 week till the show. Still a lot of things to do. I did get most of the preparations done. Ordering the swag that we need to do. We have the new t-shirts. Hopefully everybody likes that one. The speakers are set, exhibitors. Luckily, the past 2 weeks, nobody's dropped out, so that's a good thing. There was a lot of fluctuation.
Yep.
We're now starting to set up. We're in the warehouse counting the swag to put it into we have a new point of sale system. We started it last year at consignment, where before we had paper and people would fill out their sheets, but then now it's just troublesome to look up all the different things.
Right.
So now we have a point of sale system on a Windows terminal where you can scan the barcode, print out barcodes, put it on people's stuff, scan it, pay it. Very quick and easy, because consignment is really going to be hopping. There's a lot of interest in that. That's people buying and selling there, and so that's another good thing that's happening. So
is that a good reason to go on Friday? Does the good stuff go on Friday, or is it go on Saturday?
It varies. I think some people. So I would always recommend people come early.
Yeah.
First of all, though, I just remember the consignment will start on Saturday. So
okay.
Friday is the drop-off day, 5 o'clock and onwards. People have to submit electronically their sheets. It's consign-east@vcfed.org. They'll send you a Google sheet. We'll put it in the system. People drop off Friday. You can drop off Saturday, but
right. Everybody's in show mode then.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I would recommend coming early Saturday. If you want to get the good stuff, come early Saturday, or be a consigner, sell something. Then you can actually see what's there ahead of time. That's a better thing too, because then you're going to say, all right, I want that. I can talk to this person, right? Generally, we discourage, that, but at least you can see what's there ahead of time.
Right. So what kind of things get sold from consignment?
All kinds of things. Monitors, disk drives, computers, even some bigger machines. Teletype. We had some teletypes sold there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, believe it or not. Tektronix scopes and things like that.
Okay. Old computers though too, I assume, like or not so much. Do people sell like old Sinclairs, or are you more likely to find memory boards and things like that?
More, I would say more. We do have memory boards, but more computers than memory boards. So people do sell accessories, memory boards, anything that they think that our group would be interested in, they would sell.
Okay. How about books?
Yes, they do sell. Some people do sell books, yes, and magazines.
Wow, maybe I should show up with a load from my basement here and see how much I could get. Because I have tons of books, and I want to find a good home for them, that somebody that knows what the book is, let alone the fact it's got history to it,
Oh yeah, and there's a second chance, because some people didn't want to go through the trouble entering in the spreadsheet. They said, I have so much stuff, I don't want to even bother that. Well, we have a swap meet in June. So you can just bring your stuff and sell it as you want. You don't have to worry about labeling or categorize anything. So that's a second chance for people, especially if they have a lot of stuff, to come to our swap meet in June.
What day is that in June? Do you know offhand?
So I believe that is June 10th. That's on a Saturday. So we have one on June 10th, Saturday, June 10th. And we have a second one in October, October 28th, Saturday, October 28th. We're having two this year because it's very popular. It's grown over the years. We get a decent crowd there. It's working out well.
Oh, good, good. So, yeah. So, and it's not too late. People that want to come to VCF next week, they can just show up, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, they can just show up. We recommend buying tickets ahead of time just so it gets you through the line faster. But they can show up at any time. The doors are open a lot earlier this year. It's 7:30 each day because we have a lot of speakers and I had to fit them in. So it's a very packed schedule. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Doors open at 7:30. The first speakers at 8 o'clock. Friday, the exhibitors are setting up. We do have the technical talks. We have Glitch's workshop. People love Glitch works. His different boards and things like that. We have the Commodore Classroom on Friday too. That's Commodore Classroom. We set up some Commodores, 64s, and maybe 128s, just going to 64 mode. And,
That's what we did.
because they're very nice keyboards. I mean, that's a lot. Well,
I love the keyboard, and I like the layout. It's a VT100 layout. So yeah,
so you're familiar with that. So we set up we have three guys running the classroom. It's sort of, we had to set a precedent. Last year we had Apple II classroom, and they said, all right, we're challenging you Commodore folks to set up your classroom. So we're doing a Commodore classroom this year. There'll be some learn assembly. There actually on Saturday, there'll be Dave McMurdy. How do you say this?
McMurdy.
Dave McMurdy.
I hear it in my head. Yeah.
He's coming on Saturday to give a talk in the classroom. I found out about it late, so I couldn't fit him into the regular room. But we do have the Commodore classroom there. Maybe next year will be a Tandy or Atari, but every year we're going to do a different microcomputer classroom. It's great fun. It was very popular last year with the Apple II, and I would see that it will be popular this year. We're trying to focus a lot on educational aspect of it.
Right. Where is the map on the website?
The map of the campus?
Yes.
All right, so it'll go down there. There should be right there in the grid there, map of campus.
So the main thing is, if somebody's looking for the Commodore class, you want to come out to this building right here.
Exactly.
Out and to the right.
Yeah, it's from the parking lot and to the right. It's called CDL, Computer Deconstruction Lab. On the left side is the Commodore Classroom. On the right side will be Glitchworks.
Okay. Is that the same rooms that I used to speak in on Fridays, or is it to the right of that?
Yes, that's the room that you were in.
The green rooms.
Yep, and we found that room is terrible for speakers. It just was too much echo, and so that's why we sort of shifted out of doing talks in that space. But
Got it.
That's where you've been before. You've given talks there before.
Yeah. Well, we had so many people shoved in that room that echo wasn't a problem. It was body heat, exhalations and stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the old buildings, insulation. They were just discussing that, trying to keep the energy bills down, so the insulation. So
right.
people insulation.
Yeah, I was in the service, and my barracks were built the same way. They were just a piece of wood. There was no insulation. No. So, looking at the other thing to remember when you go to VCF is to get to the talks. Tell us how to get, because if you're in the main part of VCF, you're not around the talks. The talks are in a different building. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so you can see where you have the entrance, and
right here. Yeah,
you have the tickets area and the lounge, and then you have the dining room where there's exhibits in 9032A. So behind the building of 9001, that we call it the 9001, is also known as the hotel or the Marconi Hotel. You have to make your way towards 9010D. That's called Room 1 Talks. All right. that's where all the talks are. Normally it's a visitor center where women's bunk room in the past, when they started out as a Sandy recovery area where volunteers would stay overnight. So we move out all the bunks. It's all the talks are in that room. Put 150 chairs in there. We have a stage that we have there, and we have a backdrop. So that's where all the talks are. You have to make your way up toward that section.
Right. So if you're looking for a talk, you might get there, and if it's a little late, the doors will be shut, but you can still quietly enter and listen to the talk, I'm assuming, right?
Yes. So one thing we're going to try to do is have a screen, a flat screen mounted on a stand outside of the talk area, so at least you can know when the talks are happening, when they're starting, when they're ending. But if the talk has already started, yes, you can quietly come in and then find a seat inside.
Right.
But we will have the schedule there so people can know what talk is going on right now inside.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, it's just in the past, once those doors shut, people didn't know what's behind it. It might be the coolest thing going on that hour or something. So yeah.
Yes.
We have a question about parking, and looking at this, it's not real clear about the parking. I do see it way up here, but do you see my mouse? I'm not even sure you see my mouse right here.
Yeah, I can see. So we have guest parking. That is the main parking lot,
right,
which will fill up very quickly. So then if you go out, you see Marconi Road, then you turn left down Monmouth Boulevard. So
right.
you drive down Monmouth Boulevard, and then it's at the top, there's overflow parking. So overflow parking is a huge empty parking lot that we use for the swap meet. In fact, that is the overflow parking. So it is enough for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars. We would, never fill that up. See where it says on the left, next to the hotel, it says no parking.
No parking.
That's what they're talking about, the baseball fields. We're not allowed to park there. I know some people did that by mistake, but that's their parking lot, the Little League baseball. So there's no parking there, but there is the overflow. It is a short walk to get to the event, but that is, at least there's parking, because I know that was my solution to having enough parking, and it works pretty well. I haven't heard any complaints.
So to walk from the overflow parking, do you walk down Monmouth Boulevard and then Marconi Road, or can you cut through here somewhere?
So so you do have to walk on the grass down Monmouth Boulevard. We don't have people walking inside the campus, because then it would become too complicated to direct people where to go. We wouldn't know who was paid and who didn't pay.
Yeah.
It would just be very difficult to manage. I mean, some people thought, all right, well, let's set up a booth there by that gate, but then we'd have to have 2 front desks. So it just simplifies things to have people walk along the grass down Monmouth Boulevard.
All right. As long as we know ahead. So what I might do is maybe I'll park in the exhibitor parking just to leave a spot open in the guest parking then, if that's all right.
Yeah. So yes, the speakers, exhibitors, volunteers, they park inside the campus there, out of the way. Towards
pretty much anywhere you can. That's safe and sane.
This far away building here, and there's plenty of parking around the building and behind it. So that's what we recommend, so that then it frees up for the guests that are just attending.
Right. And there's food here. Y'all feed us every year, I seem to remember.
Yes. So it's something that has always been a challenge over the years. One year we gave out free pizza.
Yeah, I remember.
You remember the free pizza? But then we had InfoAge was selling burgers and things for 2 years, and then there was a local Brookdale was selling it, and then InfoAge didn't want to do it anymore. So then we were like, here's a map, go find a place. So I said, all right, well, we got to find out something to do. We need to have some food on campus. So What we do is we apply for a food license, and it's the minimum food license where you're not just cooking. Yeah, you're not just you can't cook with this one. There's a higher level food license
where you
you're
can
cooking,
make hot dogs. Yeah.
you can, they don't even let you do hot dogs this year, I think, but where you can actually cooking, it's a lot more in depth. So this one, the minimum one is we buy food from BJ's or something like that, and we put it in the microwave, reheat it, and we give it to them because it's all prepackaged basically. So that's the minimum food label. It's prepackaged or just microwave and give it to the people. So we do have it available. It's not going to be the best food, but it's decent. I mean, people buy that stuff all the time, and you can't expect a lot. We have tried. So before people ask, we have tried to get food trucks. And I even tried to get a caterer this year, but the caterer could not pay the liability insurance. It needed a $1 million liability insurance. So, and then food trucks, I think they don't like the different regulations for Wall Township. So they have no interest. I've tried a dozen different places. And someone said Hot Pockets. Yeah, probably Hot Pockets. I will be actually making the menu pretty soon based on what we did last year, what people liked, what people didn't like, and try to simplify it. But it was, we'll have soft drinks and water too there, and maybe Gatorade. Popcorn, probably not, but chips and things like that too.
So I assume here Mondo's not asking for a stream to drink from.
So yes, we continue the hybrid format where people are there in person, and we will stream just the Room One talks. All right, so just the Room One talks are going to be streamed. No other part of the talks will be streamed. So we will be streaming that the whole day to our YouTube channel. It's at VC Federation on YouTube. We'll be streaming that. We have a great AV crew that will, they keep improving every year. I know some people complained about the audio. Well, we're working on it. There's some glitches. We're fixing it. I came up with some other device where it's recording the audio so that in case there's glitches, then we'll have a backup copy of the audio. And hopefully even the audience.
You told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people are like,
so what do you have for the backup audio? Do you know the device?
Yes.
Like a Tascam or something?
It's called a Zoom mic. So you put in AA batteries and SD card, and you just sit it there by the speakers and you leave it alone, and it records for up to 20 hours. So we have two of them, one for each microphone, and I got to test it out, but that was what was recommended by Kay Savitz. He's like, here, get one of these, and I'm like, all right, I'll get it. I'm willing to try anything to help with the audio, because that seems to be the biggest problem, not the video so much, but the audio. And then if there's syncing problems, there's software to sync it up with the video later on.
Yeah, I talk so fast that I'm guilty of not making sure I have a microphone, especially if I'm responding to somebody, or I won't repeat the question like I should, or wait for them to get mic to hear it. So some of the videos are me having a good old time, and you can't hear it.
Or you'll be in the peanut gallery asking questions to
I'm great in the peanut gallery.
Because there was a comment on YouTube that said, "Oh, I couldn't hear Bill's comments," and someone put, "I HERD him very well myself. I heard him well."
Yeah. Well, one year I was running around like Phil Donahue with the microphone, and I'd run over to like mic people and stuff. I may do that this year. I had a lot of fun doing that, and it keeps things moving and keeps them on the mic.
Yeah, that was one of the suggestions I got from my AV guy, was to have MC. So we do have one person that's going to be MC. He's going to help the speakers. That? So his name is Ian Litchfield. In fact, I have a video being posted tomorrow at 12 o'clock, which is like very short, talking about how he's repairing a teletype. But he's a great guy. He's just started being docent about a year ago. And he's going to be MC. So he's going to, introduce the speaker, going to be, reminding them about their time. We'll still have a time countdown timer for the speaker to see. He'll have the microphone, yes, to go to different people. We'll have a standing microphone too.
Right.
It's an interesting thing that happened at VCF West last year. We set up a standing microphone for the virtual talk. And then after that was done, people just without prompting walked up to the microphone themselves. So we're hoping that, between the handheld one, the wireless one,
right.
the standing microphone, people will use it and talk in the microphone.
Yeah. That's good, because there are some great questions from people that know this stuff, and if we can get them on the mic, maybe I'll bring my own wireless mic. You can tell when you've made it when you have your own wireless mic you can bring, right? Where do I plug in at? They'll probably hate me if I actually do that.
We have one question. So will the streams stay up after the show? Yeah. So last year I had taken them down. First of all, there was a day 3 which had some copyrighted stuff, so that one is not restored. But I did eventually restore the day 1 and 2 because I kind of liked having to have a polished one. But I'll leave them up this year, all 3 days of streaming, so that people can watch them whenever they want. I'll leave them up. And then eventually, once they're edited, I will release the individual talks a little bit more polished.
Right. So there's always this, I don't want to call it a contradiction, but there's always this argument between streaming and saying, no, come to VCF. And but the people are so spread out. They're all over the world that want to come to VCF. So I really appreciate that you guys are putting the streams up, and I know a lot of people do on that. I personally didn't have a problem with the streams only being the day of the show, but again, people, they're in different time zones, so leaving them up may help also.
Yeah, I definitely will leave them up this year and keep them up permanently. I don't have any reason not to this time.
How can people help? Let's say somebody says, you know what, Jeff, I do appreciate VCF. I couldn't make it. I watched the streams. I had a good time. That Bill Hurd character is out of his mind. How can I give you some money? Or, what's the, how can you benefit from them watching your streams? And part of it is you're moving to YouTube, right? Or establishing a presence on YouTube.
Yeah. So on YouTube, that was one of the things that I did was once I became showrunner, I didn't have just some technical talks and a keynote. I had many talks each day. So I was like, all right, let's post these videos. When I like, well, can I monetize this somehow? And then they said, yes, you had enough views, you have enough people subscribing, you can monetize it. So I turned on monetization for it. So anytime people watch our videos, we will get some money from that. And we're working on getting 10,000 subscribers. We're up to about 9,800 subscribers.
Wow, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it this year.
So once we get to 10,000, what is that special about that? Well, then we can have on our talks a donate button. You might have seen them in different comedy shows where they would put a donate to, food charity or something like that. Well, we can have a donate button when we get 10,000 subscribers. Then people can donate to us. And again, we're 501c3, so we can deduct that from your taxes. There is on our website also vcfed.org/donate. You could donate through our PayPal. You can send checks to us. Those are ways that people could donate to us because we always need the money to work on our museum.
Right.
We're working on other projects about renovating our warehouse, renovating our new museum space. So anything you can give is helpful to us.
It pays for the speakers to be there sometimes. It pays to
Yes,
get them out there and hotel.
yes, that's something that I started to do. Was like, all right, we have some, big name like Adrian Black. He's coming from Oregon,
Ohio
and
or Oregon. Oh yeah, Oregon. I'm thinking he's in Ohio. Yeah.
and he's just has a day job, right? He's not like rich or anything, so we will pay somebody like that their expenses because it helps us. He's interested in giving a talk, so that was another thing that I started doing, is paying for expenses for the speakers, so it can pay for the plane, hotel, car, and it may be a per diem of food. So those are things to help, so we can get more big names. There was one guy who wanted a lot of money to talk, but anyway, it helped us.
I know one of those people.
He wanted $5,000. I won't say who it was, but he wanted $5,000.
Do I know him? Is he a competitor in the old days?
It's quite possible.
Yeah.
He did work for Atari.
Oh, okay, different guy.
But any case, yes, it does help to finance that, so I can have more speakers. I can, pay for more speakers, because some people were like, oh, I don't know, I guess, well, I'll pay your expenses, and I can't do it for everybody. But if we get more money coming in, I can put it towards the show. I can have more people that can't afford it, we can pay for their expenses. It's always helpful.
Right. So I've got Friday's schedule up.
Yeah.
And starting off, first thing, like you said, 8:00, we have Brian Stout talking about Commodore 64 sprite animations, which is one of my favorite topics for the 64, because sprites was my favorite thing of the 64, with sound being a second.
Yeah.
What else you got going here? We've got verifiable credentials, Naboo stories, Novasaur.
Yes. So
Emulating the Naboo.
Yes.
So go ahead.
The Naboo is become very popular. I don't know if you know about it, but it's become very, very popular. In fact, there was Adrian Black on Adrian's Digital Basement who sort of highlighted this, and then people got interested in it. Then some guy found about, he had 2,000 or 3,000, of these things in his house somewhere that he bought years ago. People got very interested in this. It was a Canadian computer that was sort of ahead of its time with what it did, and Leo was one of the developers of it. So he's going to be talking virtually about that. I should probably do it virtually. He won't be there in person, unfortunately, but he will be talking about it. And it's just very interesting. So we love to hear about things like that, because part of what we do is preserving the history, the people's stories. So this is a great way to do it, and people talk about it because you didn't know about this, but this is a very interesting company, did a lot of great things.
Yeah. I for one am guilty about not knowing. I call them the competition, but just all the other things that were out there. I was focused on one avenue, and I didn't know about you. You also have one of the exhibitors is showing computers from Yugoslavia in the World War days, right?
Yes, and that was interesting. I see them because we also have a Discord channel where a lot of people are discussing ahead of time.
How do people join the Discord channel?
So if you go to vcfed.org, the Discord channel is under the social media menu item, and you go there, and then it'll give you the Discord link to access.
There it is.
Yep. Social media will be at the top, and then you'll hit Discord, and you can go there and you can join our Discord. And we have we have a channel set up for each of the exhibitors, each of the speakers. I love to see unusual things like that, because for example, someone one of our members has a Apple II from Bulgaria.
Oh, wow.
Apple II. So it has the Cyrillic alphabet and everything like that. It's very unusual. I love to hear about and learn about things like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially a Cyrillic. It has a Cyrillic keyboard?
Well, I think it shifts between that. There's a special one of the buttons will shift between Cyrillic and Roman alphabets.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So
really.
that brings us to my favorite time of Friday. I'll be there along with, as you said, Adrian Black is coming from Oregon.
Yes.
David Lovett, our own Usagi Electric.
Yes.
Fran will be joining us,
Yes.
Blanche, and Jeri Ellsworth will be joining us.
Yes.
I see you have 2 hours down for us to shoot the poop here. I didn't realize that, but I'm sure we can talk that long.
Well, I put it purposely at the end of the day because I know from experience,
yes,
that it's likely to be 2 hours and 45 minutes. And once it's end of the day, we can keep going. And it's not just like we in a hotel, we have to just shut the doors and get out.
Right.
We can stay there as long as we need to wrap things up. And that's what I've learned, where it's especially when you have a rare opportunity to talk to these people in one place, and you want to get the history down. You don't want to just like cut it off prematurely. You want to end, very naturally.
Right. Well, given that it's right up on dinner time, this would be a good chance. What happens? You show up at these things, you may end up sitting at dinner with somebody that you came to see, and they're at your dinner table with you, and you get to ask all the questions you can think of.
Yeah, there was that opportunity last year where Doc went to a local pizza place and
took it over. Yeah,
took over the pizza place, and some of the the fanboys were like, "Oh wow, I'm here with dinner with
Albert Charpentier, creator of the Commodore 64." Yeah,
it's like, so it could happen. It'll be a fun experience.
Yeah. So what we got? Let me jump over to Saturday then.
Yes.
Oh, so I'm known for two things at VCF, right? Talking too long and shoving too many people on the dang stage.
You literally
and we almost did that this year. We had 8 or 9 people.
Yes.
And Jeff and I finally just go, well, let's do it 2 days, and all our problems went away.
Yes.
I shouldn't say all our problems, but it got easier. Let's say that.
It made it easier to split it up into 2 roundtables, one on Friday and one on Saturday. And then I did add guardrails on the stage so nobody falls off.
Yeah, because that would have been like you would have had to make a decision. Do you keep going or do you call an ambulance? And nobody wants to be in that position.
Bill's just laying on the floor there.
Yeah, in a pool of blood, of his own blood. Yeah, it's. So Saturday opens at 8 again. Yes. What's happening this day?
So now we have Adrian Wilson. He had done a virtual talk last year. He's going to bring in the Quantel paint box. Now, some people may have never heard of it. This is another great thing about people that come to me and they're like, "Oh, did you hear about this?" No, I didn't know about this, but it's very significant. So this was a custom computer that was used for commercials and MTV. It made like this incredible graphics in the 80s, in the early 80s.
Right.
Way ahead of its time. So it was an incredible machine that he has working. He's going to bring one of those. He's going to talk about it in person. So, that's cool. Eventually they got, Adobe Photoshop put them out of business because
they put everybody out of business. Yeah,
because it was very expensive, this machine, and it was proprietary. They didn't want to whatever. So anyway, it was very significant. I never heard about it, and he's going to talk about it and have an actual machine there set up.
Cool.
We also
where is that? Which building?
So that's also in the 9010D talks, room 1 talks building.
All right.
We have FujiNet. So Thomas Cherry Holmes, he's a busy guy with busy people working with him to add more additions to FujiNet. I'm excited about the Commodore 64 version of the FujiNets. In case you don't know, FujiNet is everything combined in one cartridge Whereas like before, you would have an SD card reader or Ethernet card or wireless. So it's everything. So it's a wireless storage device that can connect to your Wi-Fi. You can download programs to your computer.
Right.
A
It's
lot
a
of great.
modernizer.
Yes. So he's going to talk about the Commodore 64 version. I think he's going to talk about the Apple II version. There was actually even a Coleco Atom, which was like a orphan computer, which he had made. We have one of those in our museum, which, that would be great to like, make something that makes it easier to develop and use computers that were just, they made poor marketing decisions or something like that, but it was still, decent.
I talked to the guy that designed the Coleco Atom, and he was like, you know what they did to it? I'm like, I've been there. I know. Yes.
So Thomas Jeri Holmes, we're paying for him to come from Texas. He's a great, smart guy, and we talk about that. And one of his developers is going to be showing off the FujiNets outside of our museum space. We found a way to add additional exhibitors because we're out of exhibit space. We can't fit anybody else. Well, there's some space outside our museum that's very, very wide hallway. So he's going to put them out there, and you can take a look at the latest FujiNets.
Okay. I'm trying to think which hallway, but it'll be obvious when.
Yeah, that'll be in 9010A, which is the complete other side of the building. You have to walk outside to, and take a look at our museum. Doug Crawford has made some extensive changes to our museum. If in 1 year, it's gone through so much. You're going to be impressed about the museum that we have now. So many changes, updates to different things. Yes, so even though you have exhibits and everything there, come to our museum. There's a lot of great stuff in there that you'll be impressed about. Most of our stuff is working, from 1 to 3 o'clock. Bill Drumgoole will be having the actual Univac 1219B working. Yes. There was kind that was on the naval ships for ballistics control. We'll have a little
right. Yeah, very cool.
It's amazing. He's still trying to get the tape drive working, but at the very least, he can explain how it works. People are fascinated by big iron and blinking lights.
It's amazing that stuff did what it did back then. It's amazing it worked. Yeah. So who's after Jeri Holmes?
So Jeri Krisky, I don't know how to Chrissy. I don't know how to pronounce that. So this was someone, and this is a great thing where people are coming to me to give a talk, whereas before I was pursuing people and asking them to give talks.
Right.
People are coming to me and say, "Can I give a talk?" So there's two themes for the show. There's computers in education and keeping vintage computers alive. So he's going to be talking about computers in education. So throughout 35 years, how computers have been good or bad in the education system, how they're beneficial or not. So he's going to be talking about that because he has some experience with that as well as speaking about it.
Okay. And then after that, is it Lisa or Liza?
Liza Loop. So Liza Loop was she was in the Homebrew Computer Club with Steve Wozniak, and she received the first Apple One right. computer, and he was like, "Here, you can use this," and she started from that point on teaching children computers from 1976. She was like, I don't know if there's anybody else was doing that, but she started that and she still continues that. She eventually used the Apple II, but she was, computer literacy. She's going to talk about that in the 70s, 80s. So she's, in Apple computers, she's very popular, and it'd be great to have her, tell about that because that's when we're focusing towards education these days.
Right. So, and next is Margaret Morabito, who, for those that have lived under a rock, is the co-author on this book right here. And she's talking about what this year. She was there last year as well. And this is remote, knowing Margaret.
Yeah, so this is remote. And so she last year she talked about generally about her story.
Publishing.
She was
Oh,
at
yeah,
Run
right.
Magazine, and she was at different places, and so her story about what she did. This one is going to be specifically focused on the online part. So she was like early on the different online systems like QLink and some others. She was actually has digital classrooms, which was very new back then to have
Right.
online learning. Nowadays, we with COVID and everything like that, you can take online learning anywhere. But this was in the 80s, so she'll talk about how she taught uh, online on the dial-up systems, how the people were learning and taking courses and things like that, and what she did specifically.
Right. Good. That would be great to have her. And of course, after that, we have Jeri.
Yeah, so Jeri will be talking about her whole history. She had done the Commodore 64 DTV, C64 DTV, and then we'll eventually talk about her story, where now she has a Tilt 5, her company,
Right.
and she's talking about augmented reality goggles, and she'll probably talk about what it had been before. There was another venture capital company that folded up, and then so she'll be talking about
Okay.
her whole history, how she got started.
Right. Good. And then we have another streamer roundtable. By the way, I'm the one that didn't want to call it YouTubers. I don't like the name, just personally. So streamcasters. I don't know what to call us. But we have David Murray, 8-bit guy, will be joining us.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him for a few years, and this time I'm gratefully that he's actually going to be able to make it this time. He'll be there to talk about his channel. People love his channel. It's very popular. Talks about different topics. He'll be selling some of his software. He'll be showing off his Commander X16 computer. Get to talk to him there. So it's a great chance for East Coast people, because I know it goes to VCF Midwest a lot, but this is the first time he's been at VCF East, so it's a great chance to come and meet him and talk to him, get him signed.
He's a reason alone to make Saturday, is the way I look at it.
Yeah.
So also we have Michael Stanhope, Steve Matarazzo, and Sean Malseed. I don't know these gentlemen. Oh, one dropped out, right?
No, not these guys. So these guys, they're local people, basically. So they have their own YouTube channels.
I thought Tom Cherry Holmes swapped in for one of them. Wasn't Sean out?
I think it was somebody else. I don't remember.
Okay, yeah. It might be one of the Mac guys. Yeah.
All right, I'll have to take a second look.
So there might be a slight lineup change, is what we're saying there. Yeah, minor.
So these three guys are local guys who come to our show every year, and usually they're exhibiting. They have their own YouTube channels where they'll sometimes, go over like fixing up a Macintosh, or they'll come to our swap meet and they got something, and then they're going to try to fix it. And so they're local guys that's, not widely known, like the 8-bit guy. And so that's
right. It'll give a nice contrast there.
Yes.
So Sunday.
So this Christian Berger, he is from Germany. He actually speaks the dialect Bavarian. So he asked me, would you like to know about teletext? And I'm like, sure. I'm like, what is teletext? So I looked it up.
I used to use teletext, yeah.
So I think it's very interesting. So I saw a preview of his video so far. It's like, well, this is very interesting. Teletext is like sending through, as I understand it, sending data through the television signal, so then you can see like information on the screen. Does that sound right?
I thought teletext was you're describing VITS, vertical interface, where they send teletext there, and I think you're right. I think I was wrong. I was thinking of what was before fax machines. We used to send only letters, and so you learn to speak in real short sentences.
Morse code.
Yeah, right. But so teletext, yeah, I think you're right. I think that is the one that rides on the video signal.
Is there like one for the hearing impaired? Like,
Yeah, that's usually included on alternate channel stuff is on. If it's the stuff I'm thinking about, it's on like the 16th and 17th or the 24th line of the vertical interface. And you'll sometimes see it in the old days on old TV sets. You'd see things sparkling at the bottom and it looked like Morse code. And that's literally the things for the text.
Yeah.
The data. Telex. Yeah, Telex is what I was thinking of. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, that's Christian. He'll be doing that. It's going to be pre-recorded, but then he'll be available for questions and answers afterwards because he's not going to be there in person. I got to make sure that people know it's virtual.
Here we go. Here's teletext. Right. Teletext is not the VITS stuff. This is the take over the whole video thing. So yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And here's Brian again. Tell us about the generation of engineers.
So yeah, it's one of the educational aspects. What's vintage computing, tells us about what people had learned from the earlier computers and what about who had learned with those computers.
Right. And then the Apple Lisa. We had one at Commodore. Bob Russell used to use an Apple Lisa back then.
Wow.
Yeah. He used it for composing documents.
Wow, interesting. So Jason Perkins, he's one of our steering committee members and frequent volunteer. He was always at our repair workshops, but he moved to the West Coast, so he's not here a lot. So he's going to talk about the Lisa. He'd done a talk during our virtual show in 2020 about the Lisa, so he's really familiar with it. And this is the 40th anniversary of the Lisa. It came out in 1983. He'll be talking about that, and I guess somebody released the source code for it or something. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Somebody asked a question about something the other day, and Terry Ryan responded, who did BASIC on the 128 and the TED series. He found the source code from Microsoft and he looked at it and goes, nope, there when they sold it to us. I'm like, that is so cool that the source code can be found. Back in the day, there was no internet, let alone finding your competitor source code on the internet.
Yeah.
So who we got next? Cynthia Solomon and Brian Silverman.
So they were helping originally. They were helping to create logo. They were co-inventors.
Okay.
With her. She talked about her life last year. This time she's going to talk specifically about how using computers and logo, for example, to teach children. So she'll go in more depth of the educational angle. And Brian Silverman, I believe he was a grad student that was helping with it. So she was like one of the helping Seymour Papert and Marvin Minsky, who had created the logo programming language. People call it the turtle graphics. That's only part of the language where the green, forward 50, right, 90.
Right.
That's only part of it. That's the part that a lot of people remember when, for me, that was my first experience with a microcomputer, an Apple IIe with the logo.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So then we have Frank O'Brien and the AGC. So
Frank O'Brien literally wrote the book on the Powell Guidance Computer. We actually do have a module of that in our
yes, you do,
down the road there at the ISEC, which is the Exploration Center. So come see the dish. It's not going to be working, but we do have a number of artifacts there, including the Apollo. So he's going to come and give a talk. This is not just it's a vintage computer. So, but in any case, we would like to have talks where people have interesting topics that appeal to our audience, and they'll be talking about the Powell Guidance Computer.
Have you seen the video channel Curious Mark?
That sounds very familiar.
They restored an AGC, and he's got like 20 or 30. They were at VCF West when I was there like 3 years ago, and it was near the anniversary and everything. They'd be great to have out if you can get them out. And they've literally, it's like watching somebody become a well-known expert on the AGC. Just they've been downloading the code from the ropes from the read-only memory. They found versions nobody knew existed. They just and they can look at it and tell you, oh, that's a Type 2 from from this era and stuff. It's wonderful. So I recommend that if you're into the Apollo stuff, check out Curious Mark. Also, he's big on HP test gear.
Oh,
so and maybe we can get him next year. Let's ask.
Oh yeah, we already have a list.
Yeah, I'm not asking this year. Yeah, I know
year.
I'm guilty of putting too many people on stage.
Yeah, but I'm already have a pre-list of people for next year for the
oh, that's great.
streamer talk. Yes,
that's great. So Frank or Michael Casdeval, I can't read that without my glasses.
That
my
sounds right.
Nices, bro.
Casdeval.
The Unseen World of Power PC. Oh, I remember the Power PC.
So yeah, I don't have this description right here, but the Power PC was interesting. We have a special version of that Power PC that runs OS 2. Not sure if that's specifically what he's talking about, but yeah, we have a very rare version. Yeah.
I've been hanging around you guys so long that things that didn't used to be considered vintage are now vintage.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Back when now early PCs are starting to seem vintage, aren't they?
Well, it's all it depends on your age, because
that's it.
There was a certain point
what you grew up with.
Yes, exactly. So there was a certain point at which maybe it was like 5 or 8 years ago, people were like, oh, a 486, it's all vintage. And we're like, that's not vintage, like the Kim 1 from 1976 is a vintage or something like that. So now it's become like, oh, the Pentium, that's vintage. There we go. The Pentium. So it's all relative to your age as to what is vintage. And generally, it's a line that moves, about 25 years ago.
Follows about 35 years behind whatever year it is, it seems like. Yeah.
So, this one thing that every museum has to make a decision based on space and what they have available is, at what point do you say, we're not going to get anything else? We right now currently have the line as roughly 1998. But we're sort of starting to collect other things after that, just because we may change our minds. We might want to have something beyond that.
Right. So, and finally, this wraps up Sunday night with Sunday afternoon with Lisa Loop again.
So Liza will be talking about
sorry.
That's all right. Modern, teaching of computer literacy in 2023. So modern stuff. So she'll talk about the different things that she's doing with teaching. I know, even Cynthia might talk about that a little bit. There's things like Scratch and other types of programming that are modern for kids. Like, she'll talk about what she's doing with things nowadays as opposed to in the past.
Right. So, yeah, I remember, was it Dan Riganti I was asking about? I'd forgotten his last name.
Yes, Dan Riganti was one of our members.
I missed him.
About 3 years ago. He was a very well-loved member. He designed the T-shirts for a number of years.
Yep.
He and I had created the Mega Commodore 64 exhibit. We had 9 Commodore 64s all networked together.
Right.
We were making a game that was based on Artillery Duel. So there was our Artillery Duel Net by Leif Bloomquist, where it's just 2 players, and you can play through the Ethernet card on your Commodore. We were trying to make a 8-player version.
Wow. I remember the display. I think it was right inside the one big room, right to the left when you walk in.
Yes, we had it on the model train guys table that they. Well, the interesting about the table was that they had built the table inside that room, but they made it so big that it didn't fit outside the door, so it had to just stay in that room forever, because they made it too big to fit outside the door. So we used that table because it was, a table that could fit 9 Commodores in a row
Right.
there. It was kind of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, what haven't I asked you? That was a pretty good rundown of this year. This sounds like an exciting year. We've got Friday fully stacked. Again, kudos on expanding into Friday. Friday's one of my favorite days because it's so relaxed, and you get to, if you're an exhibitor on a Friday, you get to walk around and talk and come to the events and stuff too, is kind of my take on it.
Yeah, Friday tends to be less people because, some people, can't take the day off
It's
work.
work day.
Yeah, it's a work day. So, and it varies with kids being off school or not. I mean, I purposely make the show the week after Easter because I know I'll be, working at school. I'll be off that week, so I can work on VCF East during that week. So, Fridays will tend to be less attendance just because it's a Friday, whereas Saturday tends to be the biggest day, and Sunday a little bit less because people either saw it already or they're tired. But we have such great speakers that it's more than just seeing the exhibits. We have great exhibits, packed room full of exhibits, lots of different interesting things that
people like me walking around.
Exactly. We will have Amiga Bill will be around helping out.
Yeah, exchanged email with him earlier today.
He'll be recording different things. So this year he's not exhibiting because he got in too late, but he can enjoy the show a little bit more, just hanging out and recording or asking people questions.
Right, just upping our general video-ness, just by being there. It's
yeah.
He's one of the most video guys I know. So Kevin asked about the source code for BASIC would have been 6502 machine language. Absolutely. Assembler. So and once you got used to it, you could read it like English. It just flowed. I dreamed in assembler a couple times where I get stuck in an endless loop and have to wait to wake up to do a B&E or something in my brain. So the people that laid out chips have all said they would dream of polygons and overlapping and trying to solve some problem and wake up in the morning going, So cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jeffy, I really appreciate you taking your time to tell us about VCF today. And I really appreciate everything you've brought to VCF. It's a fun time. It's my one thing I do every year is come see you guys. So I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. And, the reason I do it is to make other people happy, believe it or not, because, some people love this stuff. They love coming together, the festival part, coming together to socialize with like-minded people or in similar interests. And that's, what I get out of it, is seeing other people's enjoyment of what they love to do and love to see.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Nostalgia.
Yeah.
So excellent. Well, thank you for joining me today, and we will see you in Thursday. I might swing by. You guys are still setting up Thursday night around 5-6 o'clock.
Yes. Open? Yeah, we will. We'll be. Already started doing some things now, but we will be setting up. I'll be there every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah,
Thursday.
Every day.
But Thursday will be final setup of everything. Yes, I'll definitely be there.
All right. Yeah, I might see you Thursday night then, and a bunch of us actually are showing up Thursday. So if you're in the area, we might be in the lobby of the Monmouth Hotel. Last time we sat there with people like Albert Charpentier and stuff, and got to hear how the Commodore 64 got made while sitting in the not the lobby but the lounge area. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
of Monmouth or Courtyard in Monmouth. So excellent. Well, thank you again, and we will see everybody here next week, or earlier the next week. We'll see you Thursday, Friday at VCF.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Bill.
Excellent. Take care.
All right.